Hello, hello, beautiful YouTube, Facebook, internet, and world. It is Bernie. I am back with Mike from Faraday Research, our most amazing researcher. And Mike has several of his experiments that are progressing and that he's ready to demonstrate for us today. So I will let you take it away, Mike.
All right. So I've been working on developing the power system for the new pulse motor generator. So where I'm at right now, what I want to do is implement the Don Smith generator into the pulse motor, which from what I've seen out there, nobody's ever done it. Now, the pulse motors, they usually run on 12 volts or 24 volts or 48 volts, but nothing in the kilovolt range. So that's going to give me a pretty big edge on the power out coming out of the pulse motor. So I'm trying to, because there really isn't a transformer out there that's designed for what I'm going to be doing. So I'm actually designing the actual transformer itself, because what I have to do is I have to send that high voltage through a very high potential full wave bridge rectifier. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of show you my setup here. Just bear with me for a second. I'm going to switch the camera feed.
And
so,
I must stress, Mike is a career electrical engineer and working in the industry and his own experiments. And while we were,
sorry,
he shocked himself even. So,
sorry to correct you. I work in the aerospace.
Aerospace, that is correct. Aerospace.
I'm a machinist in the aerospace industry. So, anyways, let's go to the setup here. So this is the full wave bridge rectifier I was talking about there, and those diodes, they can handle about 15 kVA. So a regular diode, when you're working with this high voltage, will not work. You have to get ones that are rated for a very, very high voltage, right? So this is the setup for the full wave bridge rectifier. It can handle 15 kVA. And a lot of people have already seen the setup. I got the double spark gap going, which is basically a voltage multiplier. And then it goes through the Tesla coil. So you can see the primary and secondary. And I am now toying with building a transformer. So I managed to acquire myself a ferrite toroid. And I'm just working on the science in that, which is not easy. To actually build a transformer from scratch is not an easy undertaking.
So now I have to correct you that you clearly are an electrical engineer building your own transformers, Mike. You're not giving yourself enough credit.
Well, you know what?
Professionally, you're aerospace.
I know, all honesty, I've never gone to school for any of this stuff. I'm completely self-taught. Like everything I know right now is all self-taught. I didn't go to college for this. I was in the machinist, right? So this is kind of out of my comfort zone. So, but this stuff totally intrigued me when I seen what people were doing out there, and just really kind of got me interested in the whole thing. So yeah, a lot of reading, a lot of watching videos, and just learning step by step like anybody else out there on YouTube that's doing stuff like this. So I don't consider myself special in any way, shape, or form. I'm just one of the crew out there that are trying to make stuff, right? So I can kind of show you a little demo real fast here without trying to fry myself at the same time. It's kind of funny trying to do this with a with a cell phone in my hand and try not to fry the cell phone or myself. So hopefully I don't ground myself while I'm doing this. Fire it up there. So I got about 6,000 volts going in. So I don't know if you can see the arcs. There's
Oh
one.
yeah.
There's the first spark gap. There's the second spark gap. And I got the neon going just for a dummy load. So
Yeah, you can see it's
toroid.
powering that.
Yep. Here, actually, what I'm going to do is going to shut the light off. You can see it a lot better.
And so I will put you to full screen here. There you go.
So there's the air coming off the full weight bridge. And then the spark gaps. The second one seems to be quite a bit more intense because it's multiplying the voltage, right?
Yeah, you can clearly see that evident in there.
See, this is the primary spark gap. And this is the secondary. Look at the difference.
Big time.
Yeah. Plus you got the light going. Like I could take 3 30-watt LED or fluorescent light bulbs and they can light up no problem with the system. Like this one here is only about, I think, 5 watts. But
I'm pretty sure this is the ancient style of how, like, pre-cataclysm, the plasma energy that they were harnessing in cathedrals and stuff would have been something like this.
Yeah. See, like right now, you can smell ozone big time in the room.
Right? It always, any sort of plasma arc always creates that ozone.
Yeah. See, right now I'm just at about 6,000 volts and about 300 milliamps to run it. So it's very little power. I'm going to bump it up to about 7,000 volts. You can see that arc. Even off the toroid, you can see it arcing.
Oh yeah, right there too. Wow.
Yep.
So that's 4 different arcs that are going on there.
Yeah, plus the light, even more intense.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. But anyways, that's what. So basically, I'm working on the power system. Yeah, through the spark gap.
Step up of it, right?
Yeah, you got
through the spark gap. Sorry, through that spark gap. That's like the plasma flame or like the plasma speaker, right? If
pretty much, yeah. If you modulate it, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you can modulate that to actually play music and stuff out of those spark gaps, correct?
Yep. That's what Eric Dollard's doing. So as soon as you can modulate, it's pretty cool stuff.
So essentially, you might be creating a system that can both play music and generate electricity simultaneously.
Well, actually, even broadcast it. Like if somebody was near with a radio and that was broadcasting an audio going through those spark gaps, you would be able to pick it up on your radio.
That's amazing.
Yeah, because basically this is how radio started, right?
Yeah.
And actually, the first radios. Crazy. Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. I really I'm into it. It's on my mind pretty much every day. You kind of live it, right?
Exactly.
Like same thing with your stuff. You always got stuff going through your mind, and you're kind of living it, right? It becomes almost like a lifestyle. Then it gets a little bit more difficult if you have a family too, right? So you can have to juggle the family life with this stuff. So whatever free time I can scrounge up at the end of the week, I'm on the bench, doing stuff like this and frying myself at the same time. So
right, but not frying yourself too hard because you got that family to look after.
Exactly.
But, so I've had some thoughts, and it's that what we're working with, and specifically what you're working with, is it's been referred to as cold electricity. And in my mind, I've thought about it, and it's that it doesn't control the amperage is what makes it hot electricity, and that's what burn people, that's what hurts, but that's also the resistance that creates heat, and where
Right,
all that energy loss comes out of in the electrical systems that are in our current grid and in the
right.
AC grid.
Can
And
you see? Can you see this? See how the discoloration's happening on the spark gap there? See how it's
the
changing
transmutation,
it's mutating the metal. It's changing it because I believe this is um, steel with zinc coating on top. So when
yep.
you got the spark gap going, it's actually starting to change. Now, some guy have tipped me off that this is a result of creating evos.
Okay.
So, yeah.
It's kind of like John Hutchinson's effect there
Yes,
with the
yes,
transmutations.
exactly. Yep, that's right. And that's what's happening on my spark gaps. Something with the zinc and the steel. These are like zinc coated, right?
Yeah, the
So,
galvanized steel is what it's called.
right. Yeah.
And yeah, it creates the ozone, which is so then it's taking some oxygen out into O3, and then the other oxide, so then it's oxidizing and creating but it's also creating copper, the black on there, or not copper, carbon, the
Yes.
black on there. That would be transmutation that's happening.
Yeah, it's creating carbon. Yep. It seems like it. Like when I touch it, it's like it doesn't rub off. It's not rubbing off. So it's like adhered to the actual gap itself. So it's actually changing the composition of the surface metal. But actually, you know what? The carbon I think is kind of rubbing off on my fingers. Now that you mention it, yeah, it's developing a carbon on it. Yeah,
Right, and it's that's steel. Well, I guess that could that could just be a chemical reaction of CO2 in the atmosphere
and the
turning,
zinc,
yeah, well, the carbon deposit and then the O3, the ozone that's being produced through it.
right?
But at the same time, that's what we need I'm gonna figure out a lab to start sending to get the spectrophy, or oh, I always get caught up on this word, but
Spectra. Yeah, it screws me up too. I know what
right.
you're talking
But so that we can take those samples and see that if it is just chemical reactions, but most likely due to plasma, pretty much all plasma reactions have different forms of transmutations in it. And it's through this cold fusion plasma reactions that it's
about. Now,
happening. And
so so this reaction, question for you this time. We'll turn the table for a second. If I did the same reaction in a vacuum, what would happen?
right. And so actually there's this kid, well, my age, Jeremiah, who works with the alien scientists there in APEC.
Hmm.
And he's actually done exactly that and is having the exact same reaction and deposits of this ozone within the vacuum tube, which is proving transmutation is happening within it because it's in the vacuum tube that this is happening.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty fascinating. That's kind of out of my expertise. But definitely there's something to do with it. There's definitely reactions. It's the mutation and transformation of energy from the ether because you know there's no other way to explain why the spark gap is a voltage multiplier, and Tesla knew this a long time ago, and that's why he always worked with the spark gap, and that's why I use it today, just because of that reason, right? And you're getting an excessive amount of power coming out where you shouldn't be by common logic. you know oh yeah, it's a spark, oh it's just a discharge, but actually not only a discharge, but it's conforming with the energy that's in the ether around us and drawing it into the spark gap. That's why the voltage is increasing. And Gerald Morin, when he was doing his experiments with his spark gap, he was finding out the second he introduced the spark gap to his circuit, the load or the prime mover, the amperage almost completely disappeared out of his system. So if you have a pulse motor generator like I do, it was negating Lenz's law. So my amperage was down to 120 milliamps, right? Very, very little a draw off the prime mover. So that's proving that not only that it adds voltage to the system, it's also negating the load off the prime mover. And I'm surprised a lot, everybody's into the MOSFETs because they're easier to tune and this and that. But the MOSFETs are losing that characteristic of the spark gap. Okay, it's an analog, fine. But think about Tesla. That's all he had. He didn't have electronic stuff. He didn't have transistors, like I said before. He didn't have all this fancy stuff. Everything was built. It was very, primitive, right? And he was getting incredible results. And most people cannot duplicate what he did back then. Very few people have done it. Eric Dollard's one of them that's
Yeah.
been able to reproduce every single experiment that Tesla did in the 1890s. And that's what made him famous because nobody knew how to reproduce exactly what Tesla was doing, or let's go the far that they didn't even understand what he was doing. Right?
Exactly.
It's one thing to do an experiment, but if you don't know what the heck you're doing, or you don't know what you're even looking for, well, how can you do the experiment or at least try to reproduce it, right?
Yeah.
So
And it has to do a lot with some people call it like the standing waves, or it's through the pancake coils, but it's that third dimensional wave, a scalar wave also as
well,
what
it's a monopolar wave, and that's was the big discovery he did, because
that's the word to
instead
call
of
it, monopolar wave. Thank you.
yeah, it's a monopolar wave because it does not need a ground. You can take a monopolar wave, touch a light bulb with it, and it'll light up. Now try doing that with AC or DC. Can't do it. But monopolar, you can. So why? So that means the ground is in counter space. So if it's in counter space, that proves that there is another dimensional reality that we don't understand yet, where Tesla was just starting to understand that. Now, unfortunately, his funding got cut off before he was able to really progress his technology in the monopolar field, right? Because monopolar exceeds c, the speed of light. It's faster. It's 196,000 miles per second, pi over 2. And that's the static field. And it's been proven that it's twice the speed of light, pi over 2, which is unbelievable. So what we're dealing with here is basically instantaneous propagation of energy from one point to another, where you got a Hertzian signal, it goes in the waveform. DC is straight, while a monopolar or the scalar wave, it's actually an impulse wave. The characteristics of the waveform is totally different. So you have the Hertzian wave, okay, and then you got the magnetic field in a cross section like this, like an X, and that's why you get the incredible losses in a Hertzian signal. In a monopolar scalar wave, it's a pulse, but the static or the electromagnetic field runs in parallel with it. So you would have static here on the bottom, and the monopolar field runs through the center of it. And that's why there is like basically no loss of power whatsoever. And that was the biggest discovery that Tesla made at Colorado Springs. So he knew he could send energy right through the earth out the other side, and the top of his Tesla coil would receive it at the top, basically go straight down to the bottom of the earth on the other side of the planet, go all through it, way through the stratosphere, come back, hit his antenna at the top, and bring it right back down.
Right. And so he essentially created through the earth a giant pulse motor sort of thing, right? Or like pulse system, yes.
No, he was just transmitting power through the ground. So basically, you would need a radio antenna. You wouldn't need the antenna. All you need is the ground. So the
Okay.
earth,
Oh, okay. I got you.
so the earth becomes a giant antenna.
Use the
Hmm,
Earth as the antenna. Okay.
exactly, and that's what it was. That's what his big discovery was. He could either send it through the stratosphere, basically energize the stratosphere with the monopolar, or he could send the signal right into the earth with the proper grounding, the cables, and have a network of ground, and he could actually transmit electricity right through the ground and light up light bulbs 6 miles away.
Right. So, do you think stuff like the Egyptian pyramids and whatnot are similar ancient
Yep,
technology to that?
yep. And guess what they used as their conductor?
The God, I can't think of the name of the rock right now, but
Nope. Not
no,
only that, not
that's
only that,
the
they
water
used
underneath, right?
yeah, the water channels. Yep,
Yeah,
you got
water
it.
channels through
Hmm.
and then but or was it the dipole or the insulator that the crystalline rock inside is
Well, that would be the dielectric.
the dielectric, that's the word I was looking
Yeah,
for. And
that's the dielectric. So there was a guy, I forget his name, but he was doing experiments where he got I think it was about a 1 meter cubed piece of limestone, and
limestone,
yeah.
there we
Uh, so what he did was he
go.
got one of those high
Limestone and
voltage generators. He shot the limestone with, I think it was a 500,000 volts, and was able to receive the power at the bottom. So that proves that 100, 500,000 volts can travel through a 1 meter thick piece of limestone, because the limestone is a dielectric. So as long as you have an anode and a cathode, and you have the dielectric in the middle, it will travel right through it. 1 meter? That's crazy. Know how much know how much
that
power
is
it takes to,
huge.
yeah, it's just unbelievable. And the scary thing is the Egyptians knew this stuff how many thousands of years ago, right?
Exactly. And it's like, how many resets have there been in catastrophes that all of this knowledge has been lost?
As
And
far
then,
as I've heard, six
and
times. If you listen to Randall Carlson and
yeah,
Graham
right.
Hancock, yeah, those two guys would be very good guests on your show. If you had those guys on, yeah, there's been six major cataclysms on the planet that they can actually track to actual dates. And the fossil record is there to actually prove them right. So if there have been six civilizations in six different points in the human history, what technology was lost? You know, what was there back then? Were they beyond what we were, or was it a different kind of science? Right? Because
Oh,
Tesla was about,
exactly.
yeah, because Tesla, his big thing is basically to harness um, the power of nature to servitude man, and that's exactly what he was doing. He was playing with nature.
Yeah, just like Schauberger as well, and
Hmm.
lots of the greats from the turn of the last century there.
Yep.
And I agree with you fully. And it's that there was six major resets on like the grand scale, like the grand calendar,
Hmm.
grand time thing, and the last one being 12,000 years ago,
Twelve
followed
thousand nine
Atlantis
hundred. Yep.
there with the Younger Dryas.
Yep.
But and so that's pre-Atlantis, pre-Adluvian technology, and that's like where they were the most advanced. Lastly, but then
Yeah.
the old Greeks, the old time of the Romans, as we say, 2,000 years ago, there was,
Hmm.
I believe that at least then there was a very, very advanced, not as advanced as the Atlanteans, but they definitely had electricity and were going with that as well. And then
Right.
now all the research coming out with Tartaria,
Hmm. Yeah, you're kind of breaking up a
the
little bit.
star forts, cathedrals, and it's like you said, only 500 years ago or so
Yeah.
maximum that there was a society that was also using electricity and understood at least some level of this advanced
See
science
the
and knowledge.
Yeah, see, the big problem with all these resets is the fact that everything gets wiped out and there's very little record, if any, left. Now, whatever records are left are found, scoffed up by the Smithsonian, and hidden
Yep.
away.
Smithsonian
So,
and the good
Vatican,
old
Vatican.
there. Yep, right. Like when there was that movement last year, raid Area 51. I was like, you guys are idiots. You're gonna get shot. Raid the Vatican, not Area 51. Raid the Vatican. That's where everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's
Right.
see the 40,000-year-old books telling us where we came from. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Human origin. And they don't want us to know that.
exactly. And Jake or Snake Jones is commenting the Gengura light bulb, and yes, that is part. That's exactly what Mike is essentially the same technology Mike's working with his Don Smith generator and the plasma tubes, the fluorescent tubes that light up through this electromagnetic plasma field and
Yeah, you
the
could create light
arcs.
with you could
Yeah,
you could create light without the vacuum tube. You don't need the vacuum tube. As long as you got the high voltage and you got enough you got that gap just right, you're going to create light. But, it's like going back to Tesla stuff, all his stuff was very, very high voltage and very, very high frequency. That's why today we have been not been able to really implement his technology because it all runs on a different frequency and voltage band.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And that's going back to the difference between the hot and the cold electricity, and that his is
that's right.
this cold electricity that like the LEDs are, that it doesn't have all that resistance. It's not burning up the energy, turning it into heat through the amperage and the resistance. And
Exactly.
it, it it's
It's a
free energy because it's everywhere. It's how nature
it's an RF.
uses
It's an
it's the
RF.
cold energy.
Yeah, because the Tesla stuff is working in the RF band. Okay, yeah, you can still give yourself a good lifter. I've had a few, but um, but the RF frequency and the RF amperage is a different kind of voltage. Like technically, if I did that same thing with 120 volts, with say, well, it takes a quarter of an amp to kill you, right? Actually, probably a little bit less than that. So that's only 120 volts. That's in the Hertzian. Now, the big reason is why. Why is it that I could touch 6,400 volts and take in maybe an amp or two and it doesn't kill me? Okay, that's kind of peculiar. Why I don't get killed is because of the frequency. It's all about frequency. When you get the frequency down to 60 hertz, that's where it becomes lethal. And like I said before, the frequency also dictates on the amount of electrons that are accumulated in the circuit. And electrons is the resistance in the circuit. It is actually the destruction of electricity. So it's basically taking your fist and slamming it into a brick wall. That's where we get our power now. All right. Where
Yeah.
Tesla, it's a single waveform going one direction, only positive. There is no negative because the negative is in counter space.
It's like
It doesn't need anything to push off. You
there's
see
no
what I'm saying?
resistance. You're not fighting. You're not like going
Yep. It's
against
already won. It's already
nature.
won.
Yeah, you're going with the flow of the
That's
universe.
right. As soon as you put a resistance in the circuit,
Natural.
you get heat, and then you get the accumulation of electrons. And if you got the right frequency, like 60 hertz, you can run our appliances that we run today in the modern world. But it's basically, that's why the power is destroyed. The electrons actually destroy the potential. And the reason why I know that is because when you put power through a wire at high amperage, that wire heats up. Heat is the destruction of electricity.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so when people start to understand what you're actually dealing with, Tesla was so far above everybody else. He was in a different universe, as far as I'm concerned. He was way 200, 300 years ahead of his time. But, it all boiled down to that one thing again, control money, control the power, you know, that we live in the situation that we do today. So it's up to us, now that he's been dead for, almost 100 years, and we have to kind of carry on, right? We have to carry on where he left off. So it's
Exactly.
so
The
it's
new
guys like
torchbearer.
myself. Yeah, we've got to carry the torch, right? You know, and work on the stuff that he was working on, and try to learn exactly what he was talking about. Don't think you know any better, because you don't. He knew. So if you read and try to interpolate exactly what he's saying, you're going to learn something. So that's the biggest mistake when people do experiments. They try to change things. Do it exactly the way Tesla would have done it. And then you're going to see the effects.
Exactly. And there's so
So,
many people that are like, "Oh, we debunked this," and it's like, no, you've just done it wrong. Like, stop spreading your ignorance and actually follow the model, the blueprints, like
mhm.
step for step, and then comment, then make your decision on it. Don't just
or,
up
or,
and do it your way. And, oh, it's frustrating.
well, it's no, a lot of people do it. They think they know better, and they don't, and they think that, okay, using a MOSFET is going to make your system better. Well, okay, in some aspects it could, but you're missing the point of where is this extra power coming from? Like the Tesla coil, all it is a transformer without a core. And to this day, people really truly do not know how a transformer actually works. I think I know how it works, and it's not what you think it is. I personally think it's like you've actually made the point where you get one tuning fork here and one tuning fork here. You ring this one will actually ring exactly the same way. So when you got your primary and secondary coil, the core itself actually absorbs all the magnetic flux within its field. So technically it cannot transfer, very much of that flux over through the core, because the core absorbs about 98% of the flux coming off the primary. So, that's what they teach you in school, in electronics school, and, engineering. But, according to Eric Dollard and a few other of his conglomerates, yeah, people don't know to this day how a transformer actually works. So even
Right? Because
he's
that
kind of,
the induction method, it's over unity in how it's absorbing all of that, yet it can be made in such a more efficient way, like you've just explained there, and that it's the magnetism, the flow of magnetism that isn't understood, and the magnetic flow that isn't taught, I believe intentionally isn't taught and left out of modern electrical engineering, and that it has to do with the ones and zeros, the can't think of the term right, the binary, but
yeah,
the switching, and it's the analog transistor, and there's these 1950s, 1960s Air Force Bell Lab videos that actually go in depth into it,
yeah,
and it's a science that's been completely suppressed into
yeah,
it, and yeah, Ken Wheeler definitely, Snake is commenting, is also one that understands much better the magnetic flow and magnetic structure of the universe.
yeah,
And also, Mike, I know you don't have much time tonight because we started
yeah. I
late here, but
got
next week,
about 10 minutes. 10 minutes
yeah,
we can
so
do.
for sure. And after you're off, I'll for everyone that's still in here, I'll play some of these videos. But Vinny St. Vincent there, his YouTube channel and his understanding of he's gone through Ed Leedskallen's
Yeah.
work, and his understanding of electromagnetism, and he goes much more in depth on the magnetic current of things and how and Vinny's tied it into, or Roy is his name, but his channel is Vinny St. Vincent, into the flywheel. And then he's also connected Heaviside's work with Tesla's work and connected pancake coils into
Yep.
the flywheel and a bunch of other things where he's been
Yeah, the pancake
levitating
coil
some
is
stone. Uh,
yeah, the pancake coil is actually one of the better coils that Tesla designed, um, just because of how big the field is created with that type of a design. So for like charging cell phones and all that stuff, that's basically what it is a pancake coil, right? And that's what we use today for our wireless cell phone chargers. It's a pancake coil. So yeah, we've implemented some of the designs that Tesla's used, but we've totally fallen off the wagon when it comes to the type of power that he really wanted to work with. You know, our world would have been very, very different if we went in the direction of what Tesla was trying to get through to everybody. And even radio would be totally revolutionized. Like, could you imagine having like instantaneous propagation with Mars? So you could actually
right?
control the rovers in real time, you know? Like, that's awesome. Can you imagine that? So, you know, when you think about doing space travel and stuff like that, that's the type of communication system you're going to need, is something that can go from point A to point B instantaneously. No matter where you are in the universe, you'll be able to receive the signal. And this is the stuff that he was working on, because when he was in court, Tesla was fighting in court with Marconi. He was constantly saying to the judge, "My radio is not electromagnetic." And he said it time and time again, and they just didn't get it. They always thought he was referring to, you know, the Hertzian type style transmitter, when he was saying, no, mine is monopolar. So, you know, it didn't get anywhere in court. So
And
that was a
it's
big mess.
like people like you, me, and the select few others are only now starting to figure out and bring forward what that understanding in technology truly is. And there's probably about 30 other good researchers I've seen on YouTube that we'll go over in the upcoming next few weeks
Yeah.
in
So
the
basic.
videos
So
showing their different understandings, experiments of it.
yeah, I think where we're at now is trying to take what Tesla was doing and add the other piece to the puzzle that he didn't get a chance to fix, or at least create. And that's
Exactly.
switching that high voltage, high frequency into a usable form that we use to power our devices today. You know, that's why I'm building transformers now, because the stuff that I want either is astronomical in price, or there's, you know, make it yourself, right? You know, start studying how a transformer is put together and start putting something together. So that's what I'm doing right now. And if I get that work done properly, then the rest of the new pulse motor generator build is gonna work, because, you know, that's kind of my hurdle right now, is getting that potential to where I want it, so I can actually use that high voltage to actually run the pulse motor. Instead of running on 12 volts, I could be running on several hundred volts. So it's going to be a pulse motor that nobody's ever seen before. It's going to be quite unique, because I'm going to implement the flywheel to it. I'm going to implement the whole pulse motor setup in the traditional sense. And then I'm going to add the Tesla scalar power source to actually keep it going. So I don't think I've ever seen anybody do anything like that. So, you know, this project could take over a year to do. I think the hardest part what I'm doing is right now. That's converting that monopolar high voltage potential to a Hertzian frequency properly. And if I get it right, then this motor is going to be, it'll work. It's going to work. So it's going to take time. There's going to be a lot of failed attempts, and there's going to be a lot of mistakes, and I'm going to learn. Right? It's all part of what I'm doing. This is a whole new frontier, right? And if we get it right, I get this motor running. It's going to turn friggin' heads. It's going to turn everybody upside down, guaranteed. Because if I don't need a prime mover to make this thing run, and people are going to go, okay, what's running it? Well, it's running itself. And there's a couple of guys out there that have machines that do that right now. So my hat's off to those guys because they're pioneers. So if I can get my version of my type of generator that doesn't need a prime mover to run it, then obviously, it can be done, right? If somebody has done it and he's running his pulse motor or whatever he's working on and it's powering itself, that's fantastic. This is what it's all about. It's not a matter of being who's going to be the first. It's not about that. It's about being able to develop the technology in different levels for different applications, right? As I've always been, my big thing is to have a power source where I can run an entire house forever off this power source. So if I can do that, then that you have to set a goal, right? So if you set a goal and it seems pretty realistic, go for it. You really got nothing to lose. You're just going to gain incredible knowledge along the way. So when I got into this, back in 2006 when I started playing with the HHO stuff, seeing that rabbit hole, right, and go, okay, I'm going to jump into this. Am I going to jump into it feet first, or am I going to jump into it head first? So I chose head first, and pretty much it's history from there. So
I've got one hell of an angry electrician on my Facebook going off right now, calling us idiots, claiming we have no idea what we're doing, saying
beautiful,
monopolar, what is that? And
beautiful.
I'm telling Mateo that he'll have to come back next week, and I'll allow him on to debate you because there's not enough time this week here. But
you know what? It's not a matter of people debating. If you're always trying to, you know what? It's not a matter of if he thinks he's right, fine, let him think that. I'm doing my own thing. I'm not here to get into arguments. If you think you're right, okay, cool. You do your own thing. I do mine. But if I succeed in doing what I'm doing, and
exactly, it's
you know
like
what I mean,
it's
it's like
experience
why?
of like, well, if this is working right here, what I've built, and I'm showing it to you, and you're still claiming that it's impossible, even though
Right.
the working model in front of your eyes.
And that's exactly what Einstein did back in
There's no
1919.
right. There's
Yep. That's
I
what
feel you.
Einstein did. He was there. Yeah, it's like, but according to Einstein, all the lights that we have running right now, all the transformers that break down the high voltage from the poles outside, all that stuff to him is completely impossible. Well, if it's completely impossible, how come we've been using it for almost 100 years or well over 100 years now?
Exactly.
So it's the dogma, and a lot of people believe in the dogma, right? And that's what's held us back. That's why we're, us guys in the basements and in the garages all across America, all over the world, are working on this stuff. So obviously, not everybody is conforming to the dogma, right? So you have to have a non-biased approach. You got to basically, if you have a dogma, get rid of it. If you have dogma in it, don't even bother. Just go on your daily life and go on as like any other person does. But You know, you have to go in.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's I could fight all day long with these people, and it's all they're after is just to try to prove themselves right, according to
Right.
academia, right? So I'm proving
Well,
stuff to. Yeah, I'm learning stuff every day, and I'm proving to myself some of the stuff they teach in school now is ridiculous. Like they're like I said, it's like it's like a cult that's gone bad. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And it's like, so my cold fusion experiments, like NASA just came out and acknowledged that cold fusion is real through this lattice technology, which is exactly what I'm doing. And
Hmm.
yet everyone's like, it's impossible. Blah, blah." It's like, no, I am doing it in front of my own eyes. Like I can reproduce the experiments time and time again.
Yeah,
But
when you do the experiment,
down
you
all you
see.
want, but it's real. It exists. It's how the universe actually works. It's how nature works. Sorry
Yeah,
that
it's like
it destroys your own narrative and your own
like if
understanding.
you're yeah, if you're proving it to yourself and you're seeing it
But
in the lab done, it kind of helps with the credibility a little bit, right? Instead of some jerk off on the street saying, "Oh, it's impossible. You can't do that." You know what I mean? I don't waste my time with ignorance. It's like, you know what? If you're not into this stuff and you don't believe in it, go on your merry way. Like stay out of my way.
exactly. We're here
I
for all the ones that are down for working on it themselves, trying to build it themselves, and advancing and understanding the reality of the
Yep,
possibilities that you can create and build this utopia of your own life, and that the current system is failing. Everybody knows this. That is the reality, and it's
yep,
because of the corruption. It's because of the suppression of knowledge and the compartmentalization of technology and truth, and
well,
that the only way to do it is doing it yourself, building it yourself, and experiencing it for yourself. And that's true scientific method, is trying it yourself, repeating
yep,
it,
yep,
and figuring it out. And once you do it, once you have that experience, once you've built it yourself,
yep.
repeated it yourself, nobody can take that truth, that reality away from you, no matter what facts you've been taught by the system and boxed
Exactly.
in and caged your reality into.
Like I have a pulse motor right now that doesn't need batteries. Like it runs, runs on a small stack of capacitors, and that thing will run almost 1 hour with no power going into it. So I don't know about you, but I don't know what power system can do that with no batteries, right? So it makes my pulse motor probably one of the most efficient motors on the planet.
And I can't wait until you add one of those mechanical batteries, the flywheel, into that system. That
Well,
is
that's
just
what's
going to be next level.
Well, that's the whole thing. You get that running and you get it up to about 3,000, about 2,000 RPM. And the second I get that power system figured out, and the second I turn it on, I will know if it will basically run forever. This, how I know this is the second I turn the power on, that that flywheel is going to start accelerating. If I get instant acceleration out of it, I've done it because that means that because I got that kinetic energy behind it, as long as that kinetic energy is there, the system will never stop. So if I can sustain the kinetic energy of the spin of the flywheel, that that generate, it'll run forever, and that's how
Exactly.
I'll know.
And it's
Is be,
through combining multiple forces. It's higher dimensional circuitry where you're bringing in it's an open circuit, and it's that you're bringing in energy from several different sources and
right,
turning it into the same electrical frequency that our current system runs on. And
right,
that's where
but
people get lost in, oh, you're breaking the thermodynamic laws. And it's like, no, we're not. It's just you're looking at it from a small box position. You're not
yeah, well,
seeing the
we're
grander picture.
so what
Everything
we're
is energy, and it's just converting the energy into that right harmonic frequency that our
right.
current electrical
So
circuits are run on.
So basically, our textbook is looking at the universe. Okay, it is a perpetual motion device that's been running for God knows how many billions of years.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
there's your model right there. Figure it out, because the forces I'm going to be using in this motor are forces that the planet, like for example, the Earth, has been around 4.5 billion years. It's been spinning for 4.5 billion years. It's got, you imagine the mass of the Earth, and it's spinning at 30,000 kilometers an hour right now. And it's been doing it for the last 4.5 billion years. So, as far as I'm concerned, we're living on a perpetual motion device right now, because we're living on a magnet, right? A giant magnet that's spinning in the void of space, and it's been doing it for 4.5 billion years. So, there's your example right there. So you implement, the spinning, the kinetic energy with the flywheel, and then all the other stuff that comes with it, the Don Smith and the Tesla stuff together, and you get that into one unit. Well, guess what? You're going to create a perpetual motion device that will technically run forever. So, our model is the universe. Just try to figure out how the universe works. How does it continue to spin? What is the significance of the spin? That's the $6 billion question. If something's spinning, it's in motion and it has potential, and it could create potential. And yeah, it's you just have to, like Tesla's saying, you have to harness the forces of nature and put it into a mechanical device. You know, and all these engineers back in the day, they had a meeting. They all had dinner one night, and Steinmetz was there, the mathematician. Tesla was there. J.J. Thomson was there. All these electrical engineering greats were at this meeting, and the director, Professor William Henry, basically stated from the meeting that we had tonight. Basically, we are months away from creating electromechanical rotating device that does not require a prime mover. So if they were saying this back in 1916, I think it was 1917, when they had that meeting, that was enough for me to jump in and say, hey, if these engineering pioneers say it's possible to do this and they're close to it, why can't we do it? So we kind of have to pick up the
Right. And
pieces.
it's like those guys' brains like 100 years ago were their
Oh, they're way
understanding is
far ahead of
so
us.
much more
They're way ahead
complex.
of us.
They're just starting to catch on to it. And oh
All,
man, reading
all,
heavy side and stuff, it's amazing, amazing stuff.
all, all good electrical engineering ended when Steinmetz died. When Steinmetz
Steinmetz as
died,
well, yeah.
yeah, when he died, all electrical engineering basically died with him, because he was on the cutting edge of the mathematics to prove mathematically what was possible and what was not possible, and that was it. It was done. There's been no, that we know of anyway, electrical engineering scientific development since Steinmetz. And that's what we have to realize, that they were cut off a long time ago. So now, almost 100 years later, we have to pick up the pieces where these pioneers, left off, and we got to carry on. And these guys were way ahead of what we know now. Like, the know-how, the genius behind these guys is just mind-boggling. We can never be like Steinmetz or J.J. Thomson or Tesla. We're not even in the friggin' ballpark what these guys knew, and this happened so many years ago. That's
And
what's
also
sad.
Walter Russell too. He is one of the most
Oh,
suppressed of
there's
that time too. That
sure. There are
is
many,
robbed of
many
all.
engineers. Oliver Heaviside, another one, right? The list goes on and on of those electrical pioneers that were basically stopped by the establishment, and everything was halted. And it all ended with Steinmetz. When he died, it was done. So We have to pick up the
and it was
pieces
all
and go.
compartmentalized and classified from that point, because there was like T. Townsend Brown as the next generation and stuff like that. And we have like John Hutchinson that hopefully we will be able to get on this program pretty quick here, as
Yeah,
I have
he's one
a
of
couple
my.
people
He's
reaching out to him. You've done work with them or interviewed him in the past there.
yeah, he's definitely one of my
So
favorites.
I have faith
And he,
we will have him on and be able to take things to the next level with
yeah,
his work and several others that we are connecting with.
yeah, exactly. But anyways, I do have to jet. I got to be up early tomorrow. So yeah, thanks for having me on again. And
always a pleasure. And next week we'll make sure to have things more organized. We'll have Campbell on as well and be able to do a 2 or 3 hour one. And I'll have some of Vinnie Vincent's work, as well as Eric Dollard's and stuff up for us to go over. And for everyone that's still tuning in here, I'm going to play a little bit of Vinny's work here now that Mike's taking off. And I'll also play
take care, guys.
You as well, Mike. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. That's Mike from Faraday Research. Definitely go
have a good one.
Check out his channel. I will put
Cheers.
the link in the description. Much love and respect, Mike.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. All right. Okay, so for anyone that wants to get self-educated, a great YouTube channel is Global BEM. That's Global Breakthrough Energy Movement. And there are literally 100 or more different geniuses, much smarter than me, on at least the same level as Mike, that if you don't believe what we're saying, well, go see all of their research and work, because it is next level dimensional stuff. And we are only scraping the surface with what we're talking about here. And I highly recommend that channel right there. And Breakthrough Energy Movement. It is what is currently being displayed here. I hop over to the other computer. Okay, sorry about that. My other computer's a little slow there. So, but yes, I just posted it in the chat, Breakthrough Energy Movement. And they have like, oh my goodness, I just said his name. The German, the naturalist from World War II, supposedly did the honeyboo. Oh my God, Victor Schauberger. They have Victor Schauberger's grandson actually doing presentations. They have the Nunez couple from One Stop Energies and their PoE vortex coil. They have lots of cold fusion people I'm doing, as well as like Dan Winters is a repeating guest there and presentator, Nassim Haramein, all sorts of next level research and work. And I'm supposed to be put in contact with them. I'm going to be doing an interview here in the next couple of months with Northern Borealis, a great site and YouTube blog channel. And he's over in maybe Norway or Sweden, somewhere over in the Scandinavian countries. And that's also where Global Breakthrough Energy Movement is based out of, and they've done a lot of work together. So I will be putting together a presentation on that. And if you miss that out, but back and forth, there you go. On the other screen there, you see the jars, the plasma, how there's like that, all that fuzz around there. That actually has to do with the plasma field interactions. And that is real evidence to show you that that is plasma energy, and that those are atoms ionizing and interference waves happening from the plasma field that the camera is picking up on in those jars from the cold fusion reactions. And I will now hopefully pull up here some of Vincent's work to play a video here while I have a quick break, but while you guys can see the amazing work of Roy and his flywheel that he's done from a recreation of Ed Leeds-Scallon and his Coral Castles work. And I've been trying to get a hold of Roy because we need to have a serious discussion, because his work, my goodness. I will share his channel here for you guys to see. There we go. So this is Vinny St. Vincent. Definitely, if you have not, go over to Roy's channel and give him a like, a subscribe, and follow, because, well, his work is just next level. And so he's combined a lot of Tesla's research with Dr. Krowski now, I guess, in the quartz, as well as Ed Leeds-Scallon, as well as Steinmetz and Heaviside. He references their work all the time. And yeah, like just look at this build out. Probably the most advanced flywheel electromagnetic development system and experiments and understanding that I have seen so far. And I will get him on here to discuss at some point. But here is we will play a video for all of you lovely souls to see and experience. If my stupid computer can handle the stream. Is the sound?
Hello, my fellow YouTubers.
Can you guys hear that?
Roy back again.
This is Roy back again.
Yesterday's video, or the last
video
that I posted, I went into detail
on
a enormous
amount of
information on Ed Leeds-Scallon's components. And today I get to have fun because I want to show you a quick little video on some of the mechanicals in its workings. I got the pilot relay hooked up, as well as the relay, the driver relay that goes to the bifilar PMHs, which will reverse its poles as the pilot relay engages. Will also engage a couple other things. One is electromagnetic field, and two is a contact for the PMHs to be a driver.
Other mic is muted.
To move the field. Something I didn't mention.
Shit, the other mic is muted. Hold on.
Seeing this drawing on the back of what I was describing. This was something that's me, and I want it real quick. Energy of mass in motion. It's an energy planet. This is the Earth, and the elements itself that is the mass of the Earth sets up these grid lines: north, south, east, west, based on its inherent group of elements and in positioning and everything else. And that is just a reaction of the action of the sun. So you have your sun rays coming up, and when it hits our beautiful planet, it aligns itself. It gives it one axis and two momentum for spin. Now, one thing I want to explain on the spin is this would be your equator. I'm calling this Nolan's spin on the northern hemisphere, a counterclockwise spin on the southern hemisphere of the energy itself. The energy is turning across and gets to the equator. When it gets to the equator, it becomes, I heard of it be called Bosch wall. Basically, a divider line, and it's very important that when you look into a lot of electrical work through Tesla, Ed Leeds Gallon, Heavy Side, a couple other, Maxwell, Edison, you will see nature in these things of the energy that's swirling around, and you can use this as a guide in quarters. And there's also a slice down the middle, sort of like a spinal cord on a human being, to where you are creating a scalar situation here, where you're having two separate sources of energy that is driving energy around it based on its inherent elements. And I'm talking about the periodic table of
Uh-oh, why is it doing? Stupid internet. Sorry, guys. Well, that's annoying. That is annoying. Wilhelm and his energy, that is also discussed a lot in the global BEM breakthrough energy movement, and there's several presentations in that. Sorry that this Coral Castle video or Vinnie Vincent video isn't working out too well here. My stupid internet.
Sources
Oh,
of energy that is energy around it based on its inherent elements. And I'm talking about the periodic table of the elements that we know of, and also the ones that we could make ourselves on that lower section there.
Data onboarding has been a time-consuming and manual process for too long. Between spreadsheet templates,
it's going to have its natural process. So very important here to see that there's a ob-shaped mass we call planet, and its energies and how it's driving everything. Very important, and it follows into a lot of the work I work with at these scouts. So with no further ado, here we have the pilot relay, and these are split in the middle here. And what we're doing here is every time a north pole, these are north and that's south. So if you see yellow, it's south. So every time, and this is south pole and this is south pole. It's the way I have them wound. Okay, so they're both facing south. So that means when this north is in front of this south, it's going to want to attract. So, or this south with south, it's going to repel. So it's going to keep it back. Now, when it's in the back, there's a couple things going on here. One, there's a spring. So I flattened out 1/4-inch copper tubing and made a ribbing out of it, and use it for twofold. One, contact. You can see there's a contact right there. I got these old-fashioned relays. You could buy them now, and they're only about $20-something. And one is the contacts on them are just nice size and beautiful, and you can use these for all sorts of stuff, especially with experimenting. So you have your contacts here. But anyway, you have your contact back here. So this is good. Every time this comes forward, it'll disconnect. Every time it's forward, it'll make the contact. It'll contact this relay. Now this relay is pretty awesome because it'll handle the amperage and voltage for my driver coil. Now this driver coil, right now it's a single wire, and I need to get rid of those. I need to make these a bifilar. And the reason it'll be a bifilar is because when one is making contact, it'll be making this south pole and this north pole. When this north is pulling up here, it's always pulling. And then this will be south. And then this disconnects. And then the other side makes the contact. When it does that, it'll be making this now north pole. And then this will be like about here where it makes north pole. Now it's pulling the south. So it'll swap its poles. Now, the unique thing about this is there's going to be a double whammy back EMF going on here in a sense, okay? So you're going to have about it in another video, but it'll be going into collectors such as this is a capacitor I built out of these containers. And we're going to be collecting charge. We're going to be separating the charges and building pressure up. And we'll get into better capacitors, but for right now, we're going to start accumulating charge. As the field turns, it's just building a high pressure, static pressure by separating the charges. And then there will be a release. That release, like we talked about last night, will go into these glass jars that will be wound with steel wire. Now, why am I going to use iron wire, steel wire? Have a magnetic field present, and in a what we're going to do is have the back of the box on these bolts have two coils similar to this, a little bigger on the back side here. So when these coils are activated on pilot relay on those, there will be a magnetic charge coming out, and that magnetic charge is going to be going into chains. I got these chains, and we're going to get into a little segment on what these chains are doing with splitting charges. Okay, very important. So we're going to be taking the magnetic field through the chains and coming over to the glass bottle. The glass bottle is going to have a wrapping along the outside, and also one of these tiny relays. And the relays are going to be more like the magnetic strip relays, where a small magnetic, which is what this will do, and that will make the contact, that will release the capacitance electrostatically down into this tube. Now this tube is, if you go into magnetic current, it says if you were to take a coil and you were to encase the coil there, and it was down in here, okay, and then I'm going to lose it. And you had the top here with a cap. So, and then you put an iron core in the middle of this. And what you would have is no losses. You would have total encasement. But what you also have is that the center of this core, okay, the center of this core would be one pole, when the outside casing of here would be the opposite pole. So instead of the poles being down this core, and at the bottom it's the opposite pole, it would not be, it'd be a neutral. And the two poles would be close to each other, one inside the other. And something interesting about that, we'll get into that in a but for now, let's go ahead and connect this. I got pretty interesting how this works. Let's connect it. You can hear something clicking. All right, let's turn the wheel. As you can see, it's frame is double clap in the back. You got your pilot relay. There's obviously adjustments that need to be made. And you got your driver relay. And then we're going to set up my core. We want to collect all the magnetism and send it through the chains. Like a Gatling gun. All right, guys, leave your comments. I love the comments. Keep them coming.
All right, all right. Okay, so I am going to disconnect my other computer here so that hopefully the stream is better and there isn't so much lagging. And for my next one, I will be doing, I will connect to an actual land, no, not the landline, the to my computers instead of this Wi-Fi, so we don't have this ridiculous, annoying buffering, because everybody loves buffering. Not. Sorry. Okay, as I do that, first I will show you guys here the part 2, if you haven't caught it yet, of it was just released today on Leak Project, of me and Autodidactics interview with Rex of Leak Project, which went very well, and it's more of the alternative history that we covered in that one, and we did 2 parts on that, which went very, very well. And Rex is a good person. A lot of people call
Introducing
him
Speech-Alone,
The most natural.
call him a gatekeeper, but he is not. He just his entire income is based off of YouTube, so he has to be selective with what he can play and what he can't. But he is open to everything, and if you go onto his website, leakproject.com, you can catch the full interviews of everything where nothing is censored and there is absolutely no gatekeeping. And I also did a interview with Rex and Leak Project that Mike was a part of, and that Alien Scientist was also a part of, that is also going to be edited and put up on YouTube in the next couple of weeks, because there was a lot of 9/11 stuff on it, which, well, Leak Project needs its YouTube funding, so I understand why it has to be edited. It's censorship. It's not that we don't want the truth being out there. The truth is out there. It is. We are putting it up slowly but surely on other networks. So just be patient and understand that we are not trying to hide the truth. We are not trying to gatekeep. We are full disclosure all the time. And well, it's balancing the current, so we do the best of both worlds. So I'm just going to fast forward here to this part, which is absolutely astounding, where I show the different names of all of the temples in the Grand Canyon, which literally,
But he unmuted for a second.
oh, there we go. There's Otto.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Okay.
mute
Oh,
myself
this
here.
is this
But,
is the person talking about the Tartarian Empire. We're going to talk about soon.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So the first half here, we're gonna just go over some of the Badlands, the Canyon Badlands and stuff, and then the second half we will do Tartaria and whatnot. Ooh, is it? What is sharing right now? Is it my the map that's sharing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Hey, Campbell.
this is
Yeah, how you going, Rex? Good to finally talk to you.
You
Lovely
too.
work, mate.
Yeah, man. Dude, you got the epic radio voice. I better, man, it's great to talk to you today. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, right on. Well, yeah, super excited. I'm sure you can incorporate some of the Tartarian Empire possibly to the Grand Canyon.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I saw some of your recent videos with the pyramids and all that common stuff. So definitely, Egyptian glyphs and whatnot down there. So definitely advanced, recent, civilization.
And Campbell, I haven't actually brought this up with you, but there's a lot of actual Egyptian sites in Australia as well that are
Yes.
really suppressed. Do you have done some work on those?
Not yet. They're basically, the main ones are in the Blue Mountains in New South Wales. They're called the Gosford Glyphs. And there's a father and son called the Strongs who have been researching it for about 20 years. And I'm talking to them next week. I'm having an interview.
Well, isn't that perfect timing, hey?
Yes. Can you guys see me, by the way? I can just see my background.
Yeah, we can only see your background.
It looks like, hang on a sec. What's going on here? One sec. I'll keep talking. I'll get this sorted.
So yeah,
Sure.
up here I have the old
Oh,
map
there I am.
of the Grand Canyon, and it's like Confucius Temple, Temple of Ra, Hindu amphitheater, Temple of Osiris, Temple of Set, and then of course you have the Mojave Point, Hopi Point, Maricopa Point of the indigenous people there. But why is there a Cheops pyramid, Isis Temple, Shiva Temple, Buddha Temple, Hilliard, Zoroaster Temple, Brahma Temple, Obi Point, Ottoman Amphitheater, Angel's Gate, Thor Temple, Vishnu Temple, Krishna Shrine, Rama Shrine, Shiva Temple, Solomon's Temple, Venus Empire, that essentially was a seafaring empire from the past few thousand years, has a temple in the Grand Canyon, and they look like very, very eroded pyramids, like ancient, like this is pre-Atlantis. This would have been like thousands of year old plasma catastrophe.
I actually would let me jump in on that real quick. I would disagree. I think that this is Atlantean, that the Grand Canyon at one point was the capital of Atlantis. And the research I've done from Atlantis and Lemurians is the Atlanteans were into a lot more technologies, and the Lemurians were a lot more with nature. So this was a global empire, and you can call it different names, but the timeline could be, as you would say, way before 12,000 years ago, way before the Younger Dryas events. But I think Atlantis goes back way before that. That's just my opinion.
I guess that's more what I meant. I fully agree with that, Rex. You stated that right. With it's before, it would have started eroding like before the 12,000 year epoch, but Atlantis probably was a couple, if not several, of the grand cycles of ages of 36,000 years, that it's like they existed probably who knows how far back, but a lot longer than the little blip that we currently are in our Western civilization.
I want to hear what you have to say about that, Campbell.
That's just amazing. It's almost like that could have been in the sort of, they've just split it all up into so that we now think that it's actually 10 different civilizations where it's actually all come from the same place.
Exactly. Divide and conquer. That's what the goal has, or the technique has always been, is to get man to pick up the weapons and fight each other and create the division within ourselves instead of uniting and becoming one with ourselves, one with this planet, and one with the greater universe. And it's that until we choose to stop killing each other, that we won't be allowed off of this planet.
Yeah. And it's interesting, it's even got a grammar point, just telling us that they've changed the language on us.
Good. That's a good call. Oh,
To look into the thing with just the word canyon, I'm not even sure where that comes from, really. But
Data onboarding has been a time-consuming and manual process for too long. Between spreadsheets,
Thanks,
What are we
YouTube.
looking
Thanks
at?
for the
Let's go
ads.
back to that.
Oh,
What are you showing us, Bernie?
okay, so this is actually right close to me in Medicine Hat, Alberta. And that's a road going up, and these are entire valleys. It's the Medicine Hat Badlands, and that's one. Here's the second one. This guy got a little famous a few years back as like the iPod Indian or something. It was like memed as, but that is a road going up to an oil derrick at the end there. And you have one face, two face, three face, four faces. And here is a fifth one. This is like the Aztec Dragon King Lord is what the hat is known as. And this all comes from the Faram Foundation is where I first learned about this. And this guy's, his theory that he's discovered really rewrites all of history, and it proves all the ancient sites that are currently quote unquote debunked with unequivocal proof in he's discovered what he calls geoglyphs. And what these geoglyphs are megalithic sites or megaliths in lines, and there are a certain length and direction, and he measures the length of them and the direction, and then he plots them out on a globe, and he's found that every single geoglyph corresponds so that literally you have a map from these ancient geoglyphs that tie and map empires to cut. So in Alberta, where I live, there's a site that's like Nazca, Peru, but not acknowledged, that ties to a radial of Cairo, Egypt, Britannia, France, southern tip of Ireland, Cape Romania, US, Charleston Bay, US. Like, this is absolutely insane. And he's done it, and his work is so extensive that he actually goes through like Cairo, Egypt. He's found these, the Yanaguni pyramids in Japan that are underwater. He's found these, at like every Bosnian pyramids as well, where every single ancient sacred site, he's found these geoglyphs, measures them out, plots them out on a global map, and they literally tie to every other ancient sacred site in the world.
Let me ask a question. Has he checked out the geoglyphs in Blythe?
Let's see.
Let me pull those up real quick because I had a chance to go out there in Blythe. So Blythe, the Blythe geoglyphs. Blythe, let me type this in, geoglyphs, California. I've been here and I want to go back. This is off the third bell and these to the Nazca lines in Peru. The environment's very similar. So if you were to put something in, a massive geoglyph on the ground like these that span 100 plus feet, you could see them as a clear marking from the air. Now from space, I don't know, unless you've got some sweet satellites, obviously. But if you're in a plane and you're up several thousand feet, this would be a great volcanic, right? And these, here's another one. That's what it looks like from above. I would hope that this person checks this area out because maybe they could connect some dots. A lot of the geoglyphs were destroyed out here by farmers and ranchers. And this is a really neat area. Might link with the Nazca lines in Peru. Back to you. Science guy.
wow.
He's standing up
is-
now. Campbell, what's
He's
going on?
gone.
Sorry.
Yeah,
He's in a different screen
that's
now.
Amazing, right?
I had to unmute.
Oh,
You're muted on that one
oh.
that you're talking on now, buddy. Here, ask to unmute.
What?
There you go.
now I can hear him.
Ladies
Oh.
and gentlemen. Please stand by.
Yeah, no, we can hear you. You can talk.
Can you hear me good?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect.
He's even got his bear hat on for you there, Rex.
Right? Oh, and these hats, the guy, it's a good friend of mine that owns this company. It's Grassroots California, but he's actually based out of Colorado. And he's got over 100 designs of hats with bears on them. So I'm going to figure something out that get you two together, because you're a match made in.
Okay.
Oh man, right on. Cool. Well, so yeah, you want to go back to your screen and share your screen again?
So these are this is his website, and
Okay, sorry. Yeah, my computer is just being ridiculous right now. So I will post the link to that video so you guys can check the rest of it out here. And we will call it for tonight. Much love and respect. Thank you all for tuning in. I will be doing another stream here in the next couple of days, if not tomorrow, with Campbell to catch up on things. And I will finally be doing my first Crypto Alchemist all crypto update, and not investment advice, but a in this simulation that we call reality, or whatever we want to believe that it is. Personally, I don't really go with the simulation just for legal purposes. This is not financial advice, but I will be listing all of the cryptos that I have myself studied, gotten into, and seem like are going to go exponential gains in the next upcoming October, November bull cycle that seems to geometrics that seem to keep happening throughout all of history, which is like the Wyckoff accumulation and the Fibonacci sequence retracement, these fractal mathematical geometries, whether it's market manipulation through the elites, the whales, or whether it's just influence of human, seems to be the repeating process time over time, whether it's the stock market, the crypto market, or the economy in general, that keep on happening. And all of these mathematical fractals are pointing to a bull run explosion in the crypto market in the upcoming next couple months. And that these cryptos that I am going to be doing projects on and showing, well, they seem to be what are the new financial system, and what you can still buy into for pennies and a couple of dollars per coin right now. And they most likely will be the next Ethereum, Bitcoin over the coming years, as they are layer ones and layer zeros that are both energy efficient, are data, I guess, efficient as well, but very complex, but very, very effective in how they both move data, how they monetize content creation, NFT platforms for independent artists. So you can monetize your own work, get exposure, and get yourself moved into the assets that are this upcoming new financial system that, well, you want to get into it now so you're not left behind. And, well, hopefully we'll all be getting life-changing gains from. So I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us here, because you guys are the inspiration that keeps us going. And, well, have a good night, have a good day, have a good week, wherever you're joining us from in the universe, in the world, and whatever time it is, whatever day it is that you catch this. God bless you all. Much love, much respect.